It is 11 o'clock, hour number 2 of Three Man Front. Appreciate you tuning us in. All those watching us on YouTube, listening to us on the Jocks 94.5 app. You take us along wherever you go. Appreciate that greatly. First hour of the show, we already talked to Eli Hoff from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch as he gave us a little preview of Mizzou-Auburn. He likes Mizzou by a touchdown. Coming up in a matter of minutes, we'll go to Tuscaloosa, third Saturday in October, straight ahead at Bryant-Denny, as Alabama will be hosting Tennessee. Rodney Orr from Tider Insider coming straight up.
Well, there's Major League Baseball, college football, the NFL tonight. The Finnick there near Railroad Park, that's your place to go. What a wonderful menu with the wings, the wood-fired burgers, steaks, fresh salad, seafood, and cocktails. You got multiple large screens throughout to watch a variety of the SEC, NFL, and, of course, other sports as well. Top games are played on the largest screens with the best sound you're going to find anywhere. They also have the NFL Sunday Ticket and Red Zone, 2 massive LED video walls, 7 foot by 14, 283-inch projector screen. They got pool tables if you're into that. It's the Finnick. Check it out. 1630 2nd Avenue South. Also, you got live music that'll be cranking up this afternoon, starting at 5:30, and then bands cranking up at 10 on Friday nights. The Finnick, 1630 2nd Avenue South near Railroad Park.
Rodney Orr joins us now on the Higginbotham Hotline from Tider Insider. Rodney, I hope you're having a good Thursday so far.
Doing well, guys. How are y'all doing?
We're doing very well. So I was perusing your website last night, and I came across something you had posted, and this is pretty amazing. What is this stat? The plays that Alabama has played, 327 snaps? Is that right? On
defensively.
Defensively.
Yeah, you compare the two teams. You look at Tennessee. They both played 6 games. Tennessee has 463 defensive snaps.
Wow.
Alabama has 327. That's a differential of 136 defensive plays, which is equivalent to roughly 2 full games.
That is amazing. So, well, I guess people on the orange side of things would say, but you know what, Rodney? That just means we've given more opportunities for our defense to grow as opposed to playing 2 full games defensively. That is an amazing stat. I did not even think of that, but my goodness, that is quite a discrepancy between the number of plays that Tennessee's defense has been on the field and that of Kane Womack's.
Yeah, I think Alabama his offense has played 87 more snaps than Alabama's defense. And on the flip side of that, Tennessee's offense has played like 15 less snaps than their defense. It's a big discrepancy overall when you look at it. And Tennessee defensively, they're kind of a mixed bag. And what I mean by that is I think they're like 100 overall. Total defense. They give up a lot of yards, give up a lot of plays, but they have 26 sacks. I mean, conversely, Alabama has 9. Tennessee has 50 tackles for losses. So it's going to be a real key, I think, for Alabama to be able to protect Ty Simpson and give him an opportunity to throw the football, and because Tennessee's going to really come after him.
Aside from the win, Rodney, last weekend in Como, what was the most encouraging thing that you saw from the Tide?
Ooh, the most encouraging thing? Well, I would say this to me. If you look in recent weeks, against Georgia, Alabama possessed the ball for 34 minutes. Against Vanderbilt, it was over 37 minutes. Last week, they go into a game against a team that's one of the top rushing teams in the country that averaged about 38 minutes a game, time of possession. And Alabama just totally flipped the table on them. Alabama had over 30, and Missouri had less than 22. So just Alabama's time of possession. And what does that mean maybe going into this game? Tennessee is like one of the worst time of possession teams in the country. They average like under 25 or around 25 minutes or so. So, it's going to be a real key, I think, Alabama possessing the football, because Tennessee's explosive. They can score a lot of points. I mean, they are maybe the number 1 scoring offense in the country right now, averaging about 49 a game. So I think it's going to be really important for Alabama to play its game and, continue to possess the ball and finish drives. They've got to finish drives with touchdowns.
Rodney Orr joins us from Tider Insider on the Higginbotham Hotline. You think back to last year's game, Rodney, going into that game, everyone thought, oh, my goodness, we're going to have just a all-out shootout between these two teams, especially what Heupel brings to the table offensively. Obviously, what was going on with Alabama and Milroe and Ryan Williams, but it turned out to be more of a defensive battle. Do you think this game on Saturday night that is going to take that same script, or do you believe that both the defenses are going to be a little bit porous and both teams will have success scoring points?
Well, Alabama's done a pretty good job overall defensively, for the most part here. And now Tennessee is giving up 36 points a game in SEC play, I think it is. So you could say, yeah, you could see Alabama scoring some points. Alabama's done a pretty good job defensively, in their games. So I think probably it's going to be somewhere in between. I know you're going to ask me what I predicted later. But I predicted a one-score game, and I'll go ahead and tell you, it was 34-27, Alabama. So, I see it somewhere in there.
What part of Tennessee's offense, because it does start, it's nice to talk about the defense, but it's the offense that makes this team go. What particular player do you think Kane Womack and the Tide defensive staff fears the most?
Well, that's a good question. I'd like to know. It's probably one of those pass rushers, though, I would think. Maybe Joseph's. I think he leads them with 4 sacks. And they've got other guys. They got multiple guys, up front that, have sacks. You got Joshua Josephs with 4. You've got Tyree West with 4. Dominic Bailey has 3.5. Caleb Herring has 3. They have 50 tackles for losses defensively. I mean, that's it's a pretty amazing stat, what they do for tackles for losses and sacks. So I would think all of those guys are going to present a real issue because, and I tell you, I won't be surprised if you see some adjustments along the offensive line for Alabama, maybe see some personnel changes, might be more than one. Would not be surprising at all.
What about on the offensive side for Tennessee, especially at wideout? Who do you think the Tide defensive staff fears the most?
Well, I mean, I know Chris Brazzell has a lot of big plays. He's a guy that one of the top receivers in the country. He's got 32 catches, 7 touchdowns. He's tall. He's got height. I know that Braylon Staley's been really good too. He's their second leading receiver. Got a couple of touchdowns. Both those guys together have over 60 receptions combined. And I'll tell you what, you remember the former Bama player, the tight end, Miles Kitselman.
Yeah.
He's done a really nice job up there the last couple of years, especially this year. He's a big physical kid, a really good blocker. But he can catch the ball too. He's got 19 receptions on the year. So, they have a pretty good core. And Aguilar, the quarterback, Joey Aguilar. The one thing I kind of, checking into him and just looking at him more, obviously he's done a pretty good job this year. He's got 14 TDs and 5 picks. But, you look at his history, the last 2 years, he's thrown a combined 24 interceptions. So you wonder if Alabama gets him some pressure, the atmosphere gets to him. He's kind of a risk taker if he might throw some up.
All right, Rodney, you've already given us a prediction, but in regards to, let's just say you're watching the game in the first half there at Bryant-Denny Stadium, what would be the areas of concern in regards to how Tennessee can potentially get ahead of Alabama? Where do you think that area of concern would be?
Well, to me, I mean, the way they score points, they could really explode for points. And, I mean, they're balanced offensively. They have a good run game. I know that Deshaun Bishop is a little banged up. I guess he'll be okay. He's their leading rusher. He had a big game against Arkansas before he was banged up. But, just their balance. And I think when you look at Missouri, and we said this last week, one of the keys, obviously, with them being a great running team, I didn't think Pribula could really carry them throwing the football if Alabama could slow down that run. And I think we saw that. He made some nice throws, but he also threw a costly pick when he had guys open. Again, it's guys getting open in the secondary. You talk about Tennessee, their receivers, their passing game. It's going to be a challenge for Alabama's secondary, I think.
We were having this debate on the show, and you're a historian. You've been following this program for a long time. Where did the real vitriol? When did that start? Was that the Fulmer stuff with Alabama and Tennessee, or did that predate?
Looking at the series, and the first one I remember seeing, just kind of vaguely was 1968. So I kind of, through the years when it was, the Alabama-Tennessee game was on, you got an opportunity to watch it. But just following up closely, for the last 35 plus years, I would say certainly it was always kind of considered a gentleman's rivalry, I guess you would say. Not saying there wasn't some bad blood, but it was, relatively speaking, I think they were on good terms. Everyone respected Johnny Majors, I think. But Fulmer, I think, kind of flipped the switch, and it turned nasty.
There is no question it turned nasty. I had a front row seat for most of that nastiness.
I did too.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, you
did he ever call you the B word, Fulmer, like he did Pat and Paul?
No, I don't know if he really knew who I was. To be honest with you, but yeah, it was pretty. There was some. It was a wild time, no doubt.
Yeah, it was. From 10 stud in Memphis to
yes, I was thinking about Roy specifically.
Yeah, Roy 10 stud Adams. Yeah, I'm glad I never took him up on coming up to one of his parties. If you know what I'm talking about, there, Rodney.
Yeah, I do, and
please elaborate, Pat.
I don't think I will.
Well, he elaborated on Gridscape pretty vividly there. 10 stud did.
This is one of the greatest things. We would have him on the show on occasion because him and Philip Shanks were going, back and forth with each other all the time, and Logan Young, if you remember that, and
yes,
and so we always asked him the pointed question. So, okay, 10 stud. So all this stuff is being posted on Gridscape, on the message boards, making all these accusations against Alabama and Logan Young. How are these things showing up under your handle? Because you've got to be logged in for those things to be listed. And you know what he told us? Well, I have parties all the time, and my desktop is right out in the middle, and so anybody can walk by and they can post anything on the website.
Yeah, right.
That was his excuse for people going on the message board, slamming Alabama, talking about the illegal recruiting that was going on.
I did see him post that, actually.
Did he really?
Post that. Yes, he did. He did. And if you remember this a long time ago, when Dwayne Rudd was being recruited out of Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he spent a lot of time, I think, at Roy's house. He actually made a phone call to a live radio call-in show like yours, WLAC up in Nashville.
Yep, that was Bill
Dwayne
King days.
did.
Yep, Bill King.
Yes, committed to Tennessee on the air, and he was at Roy Adams' house.
Oh, those are the greatest. And then, of course, the whole Albert Means thing took place, and that was just, man, there's some fun radio times.
What are the chances that 10 Stud owned a piece of wardrobe that had sequins on it?
Say that again.
I don't know. Landrum was asking me if there was any chance that Roy Adams owned a piece of clothing that had sequins on it.
No, I know he had. Didn't he have the raccoon hat?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, he had that, and he always talked about his hot tub.
He had a nice theater room. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I was looking at some pictures.
I will say this, and I know you guys probably don't want to keep on, but I will say this.
No, this is great. This is going down the old days. I love it.
Yeah, you talk about that time. And it's in my book, so I don't feel really, reluctant to talk about it. But, Logan and I talked to Logan many, many times. We were pretty close back in the day. And Logan had no idea that Roy was saying all these things. and I plucked them off of Gridscape and read them to him, if you can believe that.
I can believe it.
And he was pretty surprised by it all. And it was just his response was, I never asked him point blank, Logan, have you done any of this stuff? But I know he vehemently denied it without me asking.
Yeah. Well, it was we would have 10 Stud on, and then a couple days later we'd have Logan on, and it was just a a cycle that would just never end between those two. But yeah, those are, and that's what people always someone asked us the other day on the show. They said, "Hey, when did it really, get bad?" Because most people remember Nick Saban just wiping the floor with Tennessee, and it wasn't really a rivalry. But my goodness gracious, before he was there, it was a rivalry like nothing you would see in the SEC. You want to talk about two teams that would always turn each other in, and the Logan Youngs and the Roy Adams of the world going after each other. It was great sports talk radio. It was fantastic.
Yes, it was. It was a crazy time for sure.
Yeah. Well, Rodney, appreciate you going down memory lane with us. Once again, Rodney's predicting a touchdown victory by Alabama against the bitter rival Tennessee Vols coming up this weekend. Hope the message boards behave this weekend, but I'm sure they won't.
Landrum thought that was funny.
That's funny.
Well, we'll see, right? We'll see.
We'll see. Rodney, have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay, guys, take care.
Appreciate it. Rodney Orr joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. It's your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services.
And we'll continue. Rob Pate talking the Auburn side of things at 11:45, the Thursday edition of Three Man Front on your home for college football. Jocks.
It is 11:20. Welcome back in. Appreciate Rodney Orr joining in the program. Rob Pate will give us the Auburn side of things. He'll join us at 11:45. Each and every week on this program, we'd like to educate you and inform you on some fantasy trends in regards to your NFL fantasy teams. Good news, Molly won last week. Did you win last week, Conrad?
Of course, Pat.
How many weeks in a row have you won?
2.
Heat check.
He says, of
Each,
course.
that's right.
He says, of course, and he's only won 2.
Going for the turkey this weekend.
Molly, I'm so glad that you won.
Thanks, I am too.
It's made the office a better place.
Thank
And
you. I'm glad you're not excited that I won.
No, I did.
Nobody cares
I
if you
expect
win.
you to win.
No,
Conrad.
I know. Nobody cares about
Conrad, come on.
No.
You breathe. You breathe wins.
That's right.
Were you saying something?
Oh, yes. I was just saying I beat one of the best people in the league, too.
Oh, really?
They had the best record.
Do we know them?
No.
Because if we knew them, we'd make fun of them.
I was just really excited. Sorry.
We're not going to make fun of a total stranger. Or at least I won't.
What's the name
Conrad
of their
will.
team?
It's just Hawkins.
Hawkins.
It's his last name.
Hawkins.
He spent all his time working on his roster. He didn't have time for a name. That's half the fun, though. You got to come up with a clever name.
All right, let's go to the corner. This is Conrad's Fantasy Corner.
Touchdown. Conrad's Fantasy Corner.
All right, we're rolling into week 7 already of the NFL season, so it just continues to fly by, much like the college football season. So we'll start off this week. A reminder, 2 pretty prominent teams on bye this week. The only 2 on bye, though, the Bills and the Ravens. So if you have Josh Allen, if you have James Cook, if you have Derrick Henry, etc., make sure they're not in your lineup.
What about Joe Burrow?
Well, he's not playing for probably he may never play again at this point. So don't have him on your roster. But yeah, Bills and Ravens, excuse me, those are the 2 teams on bye this week. So make sure you keep an eye out for that on your roster. All right, let's look back at last week. The top scores from last week. It was a really good week for fantasy. You had almost 10 players go over 30 points last week, which is quite good. So Bijan, he led the way for the Falcons last week. He had 35.8 fantasy points, had 170 rushing yards, 68 receiving yards, and a touchdown. So he was fantastic, the best player in fantasy last week. A lot of running backs at the top. Rico Dowdle for the Panthers, he's had back-to-back monster weeks over 30 points. He had 33.9 against the Cowboys this past week and 183 rushing yards, 56 receiving, and a receiving touchdown. Josh Jacobs for the Packers, he had 32 fantasy points. He had a couple of touchdowns to go along with 150 total yards from scrimmage. So those were your top scores last week. You also had Drake London, George Pickens tied as the top scoring wide receivers with 31.8. So let's get to the injuries, of which there are many, but some good news this week as well. So it looks like CeeDee Lamb is finally going to come back for the Cowboys. So not great for George Pickens players like myself, but really good if you had CeeDee Lamb. Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice is going to make his season debut this week. Remember, he had that 6-game suspension stemming from the car crash that he was involved in. I believe that was 2 off seasons ago now. But he's going to make his debut this weekend for the Chiefs, so that should be a big boost there for Mahomes. And they are on bye this week, but next week when they come back, the Ravens are expecting Lamar Jackson to be back. So good news there. For this week, J.J. McCarthy back at practice for the Vikings, but looks like one more week of Carson Wentz there. The 49ers, the most injury-riddled team in the league. Now both Mac Jones and Brock Purdy are hurt and questionable for this week, and Adrian Martinez would be in line to be the starter if they cannot go. George Kittle, he's back at practice finally, but he has been limited, so not sure if he's going to be able to come back this week. Maybe going to wait for next week. Ricky Pearsall and Juwan Jennings, both questionable at wide receiver. And finally, if you have the 49ers defense, you had Nick Bosa tear his ACL earlier in the year, and now Fred Warner out for the year as well, so maybe want to move off of that defense. Now for some guys that might be able to go this week, but not sure yet. For the Rams, you have Puka Nacua, one of the best receivers in the league. He is questionable. For the Buccaneers, Emeka Egbuka, the rookie who has been one of the best receivers in the NFL already. He's questionable, and so is Mike Evans, but Mike Evans finally back in practice, so he might be able to suit up this week for the first time in quite a while. A couple of players doubtful for the Bucs, including Bucky Irving and Chris Godwin, so keep an eye on that. Raiders tight end Brock Bowers, he's questionable, but looks like Michael Mayer may be in line for a little more of a role there. So if you have another option at tight end, Keep an eye on Brock Bowers. Not sure if he's 100%. Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray, he's listed as questionable, as well as Marvin Harrison Jr. Really the only players you probably want to touch there right now. You have Packers running back Josh Jacobs. We just talked about him having a great week last week. He's questionable. He's been sick this week, but not any sort of serious injury, so he should be good to go for the weekend. Saints running back Alvin Kamara, he's questionable. Panthers running back Chuba Hubbard, he is questionable as well, but could make a return, which would put a dent in Rico Dowdle's workload. Patriots receiver Stephon Diggs, he's questionable. Jets wide receiver Garrett Wilson, questionable. Bears wide receiver DJ Moore, Browns wide receiver Jerry Jeudy, and Saints receiver Chris Olave are all questionable. A lot of receivers hurt this week. And then at tight end, we have the Browns tight end David Njoku. He's listed as questionable for the week. Dolphins tight end Darren Waller, who's had a heck of a resurgence the last few weeks. He's questionable as well. And unfortunately, if you picked up Brenton Strange, the Jags tight end, who I encourage you to pick up for weeks now, he's now on injured reserve. He got hurt last week, going to be out for a while. And finally, let's wrap up some players worth adding to your roster if you still need some last-minute tinkering. Quarterback, pick up Jackson Dart. Can't tell you this enough. He's available in over 60% of leagues on ESPN if that's where you play your fantasy. He's had over 50 rushing yards in all 3 starts this year. He's been excellent. Sam Darnold, he's averaging almost 20 points a game over the last 5 games, so could do worse than adding Sam Darnold. At the running back spot, Chargers running back Kamani Vidal, he's now the lead back there after some injuries. He had 138 yards and 22 points last week in fantasy. Absolutely should be a top priority. And then at wide receiver, Kayshon Boutte, 93 yards and 2 tutties last week, so he had a monster outing. Patriots starting to look like a real threat in the NFL this season, so keep an eye on him. And then 49ers receiver Kendrick Bourne, averaging over 19 points a game the last 2 weeks as they've been dealing with injuries. And then at tight end, go get Browns tight end Harold Fannin Jr. He had 7 catches last week, and David Njoku is banged up. And finally, 3 defenses worth a look this week. You got the Patriots taking on the Titans. They're terrible. Dolphins taking on the Browns. They're terrible. And the Giants taking on the Broncos. Broncos offense has not been great this year. So that is your fantasy football corner for week 7. Good luck to everybody this weekend.
Thank you, Conrad. Excellent stuff each and every week. We bring that to you, give you some ideas of where you might go, and we will continue that on as we roll on this Thursday, about 15 minutes away from Rob Pate joining the program. But, for more than 4 decades, Alabama Professional Services, they have been the trusted choice for pest control, termite protection, lawn care, fertilization, and more. They're certified statewide teams at APS. They're experts. They're friendly. They're ready to help you. They're very reliable. Call them today, 205-951-9717. So whether you're looking to safeguard your home from pests or keep your lawn healthy and green, APS delivers proven solutions backed by dependable customer service. Call them today, 205-951-9717, or go to their website, alabamaprofessional.com.
15 minutes away from Rob Pate talking Auburn, Missouri. Your text, we will get to those as well. It's a Thursday edition of 3-Man Front on Jocks.
11:33 back on Jocks. 1-800-239-WJOX. That's the phone number. 205-834-9450 on the Courtesy GMC text line. Always love the interaction with our great audience here at Jocks. Rob Pate coming up at 11:45.
How about our friends at Mandu in downtown Homewood? Mandu is a great place to get in shape, and it's not going to take a whole lot of time. It's electrical muscle stimulation fitness, all FDA approved. It doesn't hurt. It's a 15-minute workout, and because of the technology, it's the equivalent of 6 hours in a gym. And right now, if you mention Jocks, you're going to get 10% off the life of your membership. And if you're a student, 15% off. Revolutionary approach, boutique fitness, whatever you want to call it. All I know is it works. Mandu in downtown Homewood. MANDUU.com. Your first visit is free. They'll put you through the workout. Tell Paul and the gang that Landrum from Jocks sent you.
I was just looking at Kelly Ford. We comment on his website and his tweets that come out almost on a daily basis. If you've not gone to kfordratings.com, what he does is he puts a lot of analytics. He basically... It's the same type stuff that you see if you look at ESPN Analytics or the All-State Playoff Predictor, things of that nature. And for some time, he has been very bullish on Alabama. If you remember, even after the Florida State loss, Kelly was still very high on Alabama, and he continues to do so. He's got Alabama as an 82% chance of beating Tennessee this weekend, a 78% chance of beating South Carolina on the road, a 78% chance of beating LSU and Bryant-Denny, an 80% chance of beating Oklahoma, 99+% chance of beating Eastern Illinois, and it's now 74% of beating Auburn at Jordan-Hare Stadium. So that's the percentages for him. So basically, he's got Alabama an 82% chance of finishing the regular season 11-1. Never in a million years, Landrum, would I think after the loss at Tallahassee and the way they looked, that we'd be sitting here looking at any analytics that would have Alabama as an 82% chance of finishing 11-1.
No, I wouldn't have either, but I'm siding with Kelly right now. I'll play the numbers. I think 11-1 is very attainable.
So if the BCS standings, if you took all the metrics from the old BCS, and I'm talking about the AP poll, the coaches poll, the computer polls of Billingsley, Colley Massey, Sagarin, Wolf, if you use that methodology to break it down this week, this is the way the BCS would have looked. Ohio State number 1, Indiana number 2, Miami 3, Texas A&M 4, Ole Miss 5. That's your top 5 teams according to the old metrics of the BCS. Coming in at 6 is Alabama, Texas Tech 7, Georgia 8, Oregon 9, LSU 10. Georgia Tech would be 11, Tennessee 12. That would be your top 12 teams according to the metrics of the old BCS. And if you remember last year, it was almost mirrored the BCS and what the college football playoff.
How many SEC teams?
Let's see. You've got A&M, Ole Miss, Bama, Georgia, LSU. You've got 5 of the top 10, 6 of the top 12 from the Southeastern Conference.
Not too bad. 205-834-9450. That is the text line and the best way to interact with us each and every day. Someone bragging that their money line play on Jack State paid out last night.
Very nice. I think Jack State was a 6.5-point favorite, 7-point, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Somebody asking the Rev, he texted into the show, guys, what about Scott Cochran and University of West Alabama? They're 5-0. We got a big one this weekend.
He's done a great job.
Or their
No
next
doubt
game.
about it.
Congratulations, Coach Cochran. That is awesome. Keller sends us a picture from Lucas Oil Stadium, the site of the 2026 Final Four. He adds, with exhibition games tipping off this week, what's your way too early prediction for the SEC basketball season? Any teams make it to Indy? Question mark. I think Florida's got a great chance to do it. Kentucky, Mark Pope, they look like they're strong. Cal and Arkansas, poised. Of course, Nate Oates, Alabama, Auburn. I wouldn't put too much stock in what you saw last night. Had to sure things up on the defensive side, but yes, I will make a way too early bold prediction that you will see at least one team in Indy for the Final Four from the SEC.
Will we have 14 in March Madness?
I don't think we're going to do that again. Might get close, maybe 12.
So South Carolina, LSU, the only two, right? Didn't make it last year.
I guess it depends on leagues like the ACC.
See if they rebounded.
Yeah. This one reads, watch for the boos to come out Saturday. Not for the team, but for Hugh Freeze. What if they're saying you and it just sounds like boo?
You know, when you first read that, I immediately thought you were talking about alcohol. When you said the booze is going to come out.
I predict that there will be a lot of those as well.
I thought we were talking about a different football game.
Mitchell says 27-21, Auburn takes the win, and yes, it's a must-win for you, Freeze, and I understand a lot of people don't agree with that.
Well, based on our poll question today, a lot of our listeners agree with that.
Only 12% of our audience right now believes that he is guaranteed a fourth year. Doesn't matter what happens, he is guaranteed a fourth year. Only 12%. So 88% of you believes that there is some juice on this game Saturday night.
Going back to our conversation about Auburn fans, and continuing to support the team, this text reads, yes, Landrum nailed it. Apathy is setting in. It's a shame.
Win on Saturday would do wonders. Get the fan base back invested.
You also said that last week, too.
Yep.
I did.
Well, I meant not you. I meant
Oh, I think I said that exact thing last
a lot
week
of
as
people
well.
said that last week.
Next text. Not so excited about the UAB game this weekend, but I'm curious how the team will play against undefeated Memphis being under Mortensen now. Your guess is as good as ours. I like Alex. They'll be ready to play. Memphis is really good.
Could have his Jerry Neuheisel moment.
Yeah. In fact, Ryan Silverfield, the Memphis coach, in his weekly press conference, brought up the UCLA example. Did the weenie ever play football? It's funny calling you a weenie.
What did I do to deserve to get called a weenie?
I don't know. Is this the person that called you the weenie yesterday?
Probably.
Did you ever play football?
Yeah, but not in high school.
Do you like weenie or lug nut better? Which
Lug
one do you
nut.
like?
Lug nut.
Lug nut?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was getting a business card made out for you, so I just didn't know which one you
I
wanted
don't
to
think
use.
you're
I
weenie.
appreciate that.
You're not.
Thank you. I was a baseball guy growing up. I was delusional. I thought I was going to play professional baseball.
That was a lot of us.
You can see the baseball that comes out in Conrad's golf swing. I'm not kidding. I think he could probably rake back in the day prior to falling in that cave.
That ended it all.
Yep.
We will continue with your text messages. Joining us in just a matter of moments. Don't go anywhere. Rob Pate, former Auburn DB. He'll have some interesting takes, I'm sure, on the current status of the Auburn football program. That's next. 11:45 back on Jocks. Each and every Thursday, we get an opportunity to catch up with former Auburn DB Rob Pate. He joins us now on the Higginbotham Hotline. I want to go back to last Saturday inside Jordan-Hare Stadium. As you're watching that game and the play unfolds on the goal line, just what was your initial feeling and how in the world they screwed that call up?
You're just frustrated. You're frustrated first because you put yourself in that position of just not, securing the ball. And, I hate any time it has to go to replay. I mean, that's just not been good news for Auburn. And look, I get that every fan base says that, but there's a special kind of just not getting a lot of help there. Recently, I'm not going to say forever, but just recently. And, so I don't know. I mean, that they called it on the field the way it was. And then, was it 100% indisputable evidence? I don't know. I mean, I was more dumbfounded by the timeout and the personal foul, roughing the passer call. Some of the other things that happened after that fumble. I mean, the fumble was the thing that got us off track. Obviously, that was the momentum killer that we never could overcome, which that just can't happen. But it was the other calls that were probably more baffling than the touchdown, the non-touchdown call.
Besides the outcome, Rob, what was the most disappointing thing that you saw as a former player, current fan, in watching that game?
Oh, second half offensive output, just totally abysmal. I mean, when they put up the graphic that we had 15 yards of total offense in the second half, that was that's hard to do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to not pick up a couple of first downs, and just the inefficiency we saw from the quarterback, Jackson Arnold. Even right out of the gate, we went for it on 4th and 1, and tried the little dump to the tight end, and just how awkward that play was, and just the shots that when we did finally go a little bit of pace and set some things up, and when we have Singleton down the middle, nobody around him, for sure touchdown, and we overshoot him again. Just how often the deep ball has just not been there, or it's been open, and if with a good throw, we may be saying, what a genius we have here calling plays with the touchdown production. I don't think we'd be going that far, but at least the offense would have a pulse, and we just haven't had that. And a lot of it I do have to lay at the feet of execution with the quarterback play. I have to lay at the feet of the inability to protect him in crucial times, and you have to lay at the feet of a offensive staff that thinks that a defense is just cones out there that aren't going to move and adjust from half to half. They're just aligning the same way they always have, and you can enter the second half and think you can call the same plays and supposed to have the same results, like there's no adjustments that take place. So there's plenty of blame to go around.
Yeah, that was my next question, because for me, watching the press conference on Monday, it was concerning when Hugh Freeze is doubling down that they were making the right calls. Matter of fact, we were making the same calls in the second half as we did in the first half. To me, if you're going up against a Kirby Smart, I don't know how many things I'd be running over and over again, because at one point, Georgia's going to adjust more so than what the Auburn offense has been able to do.
Yeah, I mean, you could see it the first play of each half. First play of the game, with jet sweep to Eric Singleton, he picks up about 12 yards. First play of the second half, jet sweep to Eric Singleton, it goes for -2 yards. Obviously, they made an adjustment. They knew what was coming. They know the tendencies of our offensive staff. They know the tendencies of our formation alignment. I did at least. They attempted to take a Cam Coleman and shift him around some, but he always ended up in the same place. He would start in a slot, and then they'd shift him out wide. So it's, we have the illusion that we're doing something different, but the end result is the same thing. And so, just the lack of creativity and the lack of production. I mean, you can't argue with the numbers. They are what they are. And could they have been better with better execution? Absolutely, 100%. But can you sit up there and say, hey, I called the same things in the second half as I did the first, and they weren't working? That's just you just can't be that naive and think that defensively that there's not adjustments taking place with two of the best defensive coaches and some of the best personnel in all of college football. You're just not going to get it done that way.
Rob, you're a former player. You live there in Auburn. You love Auburn. How much faith do you personally have that Hugh Freeze not only can turn this season around, but also lead Auburn back to where Auburn fans expect him to be and the reason that he was brought in as a head coach?
Well, there's two reasons why he was brought in as the head coach. One of them, he's done really well, flipping the roster. You got to tip your hat because Auburn was in the doldrums from a roster standpoint. He's done an outstanding job of that. The second reason he was brought in was for a prolific offense, particularly through the air. That has not happened, and that has everything to do with not being able to protect the quarterback, and I think selecting quarterbacks that you think you can fix as opposed to going out in an environment where people are showing you week in and week out if they can get a job done at the quarterback position. You can go buy one every season, and we've chosen for the last 2 or 3 years to find somebody that the other teams didn't think were capable of leading their teams. And so he's looking at these quarterback positions almost as projects or guys that are fixable, and I think that is the downfall. The likelihood of turning it around this season, it's going to depend on this game. I mean, for the next several weeks, this is our most difficult opponent, minus probably the trip to Vandy. And so they could get it turned around if they can get a victory. But, man, it's been so long since we've won big game. I just saw a graphic that we've had 18, now 19 consecutive sellouts at Auburn, and we're 9-9 in those games. And, we just at home. And it's supposed to be one of the most difficult places to play, a place that you protect at all costs, and we just haven't been able to get that done. So I would say that I'm probably hovering under 50% in my faith in my level of confidence. But at the same time, if those guys can beat a good Missouri team, the road looks better because the talent that you're playing is as elite as it has been the last several weeks.
All right, so based on what you just said, because we get this question all the time on this radio show in regards to this potentially being a must-win game, is that fair or unfair about the future of Hugh Freeze, whether he wins or loses against Mizzou on Saturday?
No, I think it's fair. I mean, it's hard for me to imagine, with as difficult of a road as it's been, of playing as many ranked teams as you have. I mean, not just ranked, but highly ranked teams. To go 0-4, that's a steep hill to climb. That's a hard sell to the people that are going to make decisions here. That in year 3, where you have said yourself that you should be a playoff contending team, to start out 0-4, to lose 2 of those at home. I get the issues with some of the calls. You still got to play a 4-quarter game regardless. But yeah, I don't think he would survive if he lost in Missouri. I don't.
Wow. It will be very, very interesting to see what happens on Saturday night. Are you predicting that Auburn pulls one out, or do you think that it goes like I think most people think?
That's what Conrad asked me. And I was like,
so
man,
tough.
I was like, hey, do y'all even need to interview me week to week now? Can you not just play last week's interview? I mean, I feel like a broken record every week. But I think that the law of averages say at some point we're going to pull one off. We got the personnel to do it. We just got to find a way to finish and put these guys in position to do it. But until I see it happen, and it's hard for me to say that it will. So I'm going to say that the Missouri quarterback is going to get them in trouble this week, like he couldn't finish against Alabama, and that Auburn pulls one off. But am I confident in that? Absolutely not.
Rob, we always appreciate it, man. Thank you. Enjoy the weekend.
All right, guys. Y'all too. War Eagle.
Yeah, tough times down there.
I hate it for Rob.
Get into Sweet Frog when you're down there, though. That'll cheer him up. The Southern gentleman, Brett Norsworthy, breaking down Ole Miss and Georgia in the next hour.